Hello and welcome to another Minecraft tutorial and building discussion. Today I'm going to try to answer the questions I get most often in response to my Fortified Walls and Towers video, published here on this channel in November of 2023. In those comments you asked how to build walls on a diagonal and how to build walls on uneven terrain. To answer the question on how to build these walls on a diagonal, I'm going to answer this in two ways. First, in terms of aesthetic, and then in terms of planning. I strongly recommend that you start by planning and building a section of your castle walls on a straight line as I've done here. This way you can get the design right before complicating things with diagonals. In fact, this is the exact same design I built in the previous video. 10 blocks high, covered with buttresses, battlements, and machicolations. I've also added the wooden extension on the back, so that we can consider that in the planning as well. So like I said, the first consideration we want to make is, how are we going to modify this specific curtain wall design to be diagonal? First, I'm going to show you a bad example of what you do not want to do. Using my creative tools with the Axiom mod, I'm going to copy this wall segment. Then I'm going to move back every column of blocks to form an exact diagonal. There's a lot to fix here, especially regarding the connecting walls and the wooden rails. But look at what's become of our wall design. There are stairs here that should form an arch, but instead they are hanging awkwardly in space. And this entire column, which should be a forward buttress down here, is now aligned with the section ahead of it. We've ruined our wall design completely. Let's figure out how to avoid that on this next copy of the wall segment. If we analyze our wall design, we can see that this repeats every 3 columns. However, if we start moving sections back, starting here at the 3rd column, beginning with this forward buttress, we're going to throw off our nice arches again. So instead of starting after the first 3 columns, let's start immediately after the first column with a forward buttress. So far so good. Now let's count over 3 and move this last section of the wall 3 columns back. We'll fix the top walls and railing in a minute, but look at what we've accomplished. Our wall design with these top arches remains intact. You could literally move this wall next to that wall and they will still look like the same wall with the same design continuing along the diagonal. We can fix up these walls and rails along the top simply by adding another intersecting piece where we moved back the wall. And now we have a diagonal section that not only looks good, but retains the functionality of these machicolations along the top. This exercise in creative is necessary to help you plan how to build diagonal walls in survival. Because you can't use tools like Axiom in survival, you'll need to start by laying out all of your walls and towers long before committing to raising any of the walls to full height. Based on what we came up with here in creative for a design, you'll want to start with a column of wall that is 3 wide. Then you'll have 2 columns that are 2 wide and another column that is 3 wide. Go back to 2 blocks here and plan another 2 wide column and then another 3 wide column. While you're planning, you may also want to plan to have your battlements at the top of the wall, start with and end with the wall, serving as machicolation. I get it, you're a crazy person like me, and so let me show you how to plan that. Like I pointed out earlier, the walls repeat every 3 spaces, but the battlements repeat every other space. Notice in this straight wall example that a wall is above this forward buttress. A stairs is above the middle one, and another wall is above this ending forward buttress. If we add another 3 column segment to this wall, then we can see that the battlements start with a wall and end with blocks. And from afar, it looks a little poorly planned, especially to those of us with OCPD. However, if we add yet another 3 column segment to this wall, then the every other spacing of the battlements and walls works out, ending in another wall just like it begins. This adds the appropriate symmetry to our wall and makes it easier to connect other structures at either end. So to sum up, when planning out your diagonal wall using this specific design, plan to have a starting column with a buttress coming forward and then at least 2 3 wide sections. If you require more wall over here, plan to add another 2 3 wide sections. If you add just one, you'll throw off the battlements. Now that we've perfectly planned out our diagonal wall, let's raise up our walls to the full height of 10 blocks. Remembering how we planned where the walls and the battlements would go, let's start with an upside down stairs on this second column and place another on every other column. Top each of these with a solid block, and then a slab, and then place walls to connect them. In situations like this, place 2 walls to connect these, and you should still be able to shoot down under them at attackers at the base of your wall. Then build the wooden extension on the back by placing a plank behind every column of wall. Place stairs on the second column, the fourth column, and every other column across. Fill in the gaps with slabs, and then stairs extending the top, starting with the very first column. Fill between the stairs with slabs. Now, like we did with the battlement walls, run railings across the back and connect them with extra rails at these junctions. Finally, I've combined a straight sectional wall with a diagonal section to show you how perfectly this works out. Notice that instead of placing 2 buttress walls side by side here, I started this diagonal section as if this ending buttress column of the straight segment is also the first column of the diagonal segment, and you should do this too. However, another way you can make these walls meet up is by conjoining them with a 7x7 turret tower between them. Note that when you do this, the side walls of the tower blend into the first buttress of each wall section. Otherwise, you'll end up with 2 columns the same depth side by side, and it looks pretty bad. I've now copied another tower over here and created another diagonal wall on the opposite angle of the one on the far side. It really is just a mirror of the other wall, angled the opposite way. However, with this first wall section pushed back on the angle, we can no longer enter our tower through a lower doorway, because if we break these blocks, we're no longer breaking the solid wall behind the buttresses, and everything is exposed. So I'm afraid, my friends, we just kind of have to do a build hack. Let's take out this door down here, fill in the wall, and then let's take out the wall above so we can see what we're working with. The interior spiral stairs end right here, so let's just take out the railing. Place a wood stair here so we can get up in there. I see now, I kind of flattened out what should be 3 stairs into 1 here. So instead of a railing, let's put 2 temporary blocks and 2 oak trapdoors here. Raise them and then get rid of the temp blocks to create an exit with safety rails. Then you just need a spruce door here and a stair above, and you have connected your tower to your angled wall in a believable way. This diagonal wall could continue on in 3-piece sections as long as you'd like, and then you'd connect to a corner tower here, and then that corner tower would connect to another straight section of wall. The most important piece of advice I'd like to give you about using diagonal walls in your builds is to use them as little as possible. A few diagonal walls in your build are great, especially at making your curtain walls feel more organic and realistic. However, making all your curtain walls diagonal will have the opposite effect. Your build will look messy and poorly planned, and your original wall design will be distorted to where no one could tell what you were trying to build. Shifting to how to handle uneven terrain, the solution here is even simpler. I've created a couple of elevations that you might find yourself up against when trying to plan out your walls. On one side, we have an easy, shallow slope, but on this side, the land rises abruptly. The solution to uneven terrain is good planning. So I'm going to plan my wall starting on the upper part of this shallow rise, and I'm going to continue my lines over the depression. We'll stop just before this steep incline. What I've planned out here is the ground blocks of the 10-foot high wall section. And so I'm going to now raise these walls up just the same as I would the straight walls I did over there. In the gap underneath the wall, I'm simply going to fill down into the depression with more blocks. Yes, this calls for more materials and it elongates the walls, but we don't lose any sense of the wall's sturdiness, and we don't have this janky, uneven battlements across the top. As for this steep rise on this side, technically we want to continue the wall from this higher level, under the assumption that the terrain continues at this level for at least another 10 or more blocks. We can join these levels together by building a tower here, with a spiral staircase inside of it that connects the two wall heights. Like I said earlier, when joining the walls to 5x5 rounded or square towers, you want to use this last buttress as the first side wall of the tower. So place another column of stone bricks behind this. Lay out the rest of the circle that will be your tower on this uneven ground, and then raise the walls all the way up until they reach the level of the upper wall section. Let's knock out a doorway here to access the tower interior and start our spiral staircase here, going up and around to the other side, and then knock out a doorway here. Yes, we're too low for this connecting wall by 1 block, but as I showed you in the previous video, we can remedy that just by taking out the first 2 blocks and adding a stair. Now continue your stairs in your center post down to the bottom, and you should be able to stop the stairs here and fill the floor with cobblestone. Fill this side with dirt if you like to prevent spawns. To finish the top of this tower, you want to raise the wall above the highest door on the higher wall side by 3 more blocks. Then raise all the other walls of the tower to match. Raise your spiral staircase up 4 more slab levels or 2 full blocks, then add extra slabs and a railing here. Fill in the roof with beams of stripped spruce logs and spruce slabs. Run your ladder up this wall, knock out the slab above if you need to, and place a trapdoor. I added the wooden extensions off the back of the walls and a wooden staircase below the tower door. But most importantly, from the front side, things are looking great. Another question I get very often regarding the fortified walls and towers video is, how do I add a gatehouse? And that question is not easily answered because a gatehouse was typically a huge fortified structure, sometimes as big as the castle keep. So the next video in this series will show you how to build a gatehouse, and if you're interested in catching that, then please subscribe and turn on notifications so that you know the minute that video drops. Thanks for watching and have a great day.